Joining me with further analysis are my guest, San Diego City Attorney Jan Goldsmith and former NFL executive Jim Steig, who was a member of the Citizens Stadium Task Force. And Jan, Fabiani said today that it'll take more than a year for the city to prepare a proper, legally defensible environmental impact report, or EIR. You say the city can make that happen by October 15th. How is that possible?
Normally does take over a year, but here we have a stadium already in existence and it's been there for over 50 years. Our engineers and biologists who work on these reports say that they already know the traffic impacts. We already know the noise and the lighting impacts, and it's a matter of if we put the resources and the number of personnel on it. They came up with the timetable and they say they can do this by the middle of October. This isn't a legal issue. Lawyers don't prepare these reports. It's engineers, biologists. They say they can do it working weekends and getting it done. We can meet their timetable.
Okay, but the charges do say that they're concerned that rushing this EIR, that's their words, could open up the project to litigation, and they're citing Downtown Convention Center as an example. Well,
Downtown Convention Center was not an EIR issue. This isn't rushing it. What you're doing is putting more personnel on it. You're putting more engineers. They're doing double tracks. One's looking at traffic, the other's looking at other noise and whatever. Plus, you have the addition that this is an existing stadium that's been there for over 50 years. The new stadium would be smaller. I want to also point out that CEQA has an exemption for a replacement structure. We're not relying on that exemption. Chargers didn't want to rely upon it, even though it says a replacement structure is not subject to CEQA. So we're okay with that. So the exemption is there because you already know the impacts.
So it won't be. That's one way that you feel you could meet it by October 15. Let me jump
by doing the full EIR. Yes, okay. We can do that.
Let me ask Jim this though. The city now says they're going to go straight to the NFL to make its case. As a former NFL executive, what do you think that'll accomplish?
Well, I think it's very, very important because there's 6 members of this committee that's sitting there, and quite honestly, they've heard one side of this story now for 6, 7, 8, 9 years. I think it's very important to hear the other side of the story. And I having known a lot of the members of that committee and know them very well, some of them since they were children, Art Rooney Jr., John Mara, that sort of stuff I've known for a long time. Long-time NFL people, you know, their families have owned the team since the 1920s. Obviously, they've stayed in their cities and they've gone through stadium fights. So I think it's very important for them to know the other side of the issue.
Could the NFL actually extend the timeline and give the city and the Chargers another year to work out some sort of deal, or is there some sort of regulations that they can't do that?
The NFL can do whatever they want to do as far as the timeline. You know, they can set things they can do. They can move it up, they can move it back, they can set what they've done right now. As you know, it has moved over the course of the last 90 days, too.
How likely is it that they might do something like that, and what's at stake for the NFL in this game?
The one thing I've learned, having worked there for a long time, I can't read the minds of 32 NFL owners. You know, I just know they'll think logically and they'll make the best decision for the league.
And let me start with you on this one, Jan. Do you think the Chargers have been honest in dealing with these stadium talks? Have they been forthright?
Well, I will tell you, I don't think we have a CEQA problem. We do have a Charger problem. CEQA is a smokescreen. If they've made a business decision that they want to be in Carson, build a stadium on a former dump, and that's their #1 choice, and shack up with the Raiders, then they should say so. And San Diego's not going anywhere. I respect a business decision. And if they just lay it out on the table, and instead of saying, oh, this person's bad, we can't do this, we can't do that, just tell us. If you want to do a deal in San Diego, if we're your priority, we've laid out a way that we can do it right and thorough, and let's get down to the table and negotiate a stadium deal to present to voters. But if the idea is there's some other reason, there's a decision already made, just tell us.
So Jim, let me get your thoughts on that. Do you think the negotiations are going fairly?
Well, I haven't been part of the negotiation. I've been sitting on the sidelines like you have, just kind of reading what's taking place. And I think it's very important to sit down there and go through all the details. There's a lot of details that have to get done, and if they haven't gotten to the financial side and the stadium design side, which is going to be a lot of hard work to get done, that has to be going. And I think what Jan said is, they can go down parallel paths. They can go through the EIR process and go down. Let's kind of get down to the process of deciding what the stadium looks like and how we finance it.
Yeah, Jen, we'll have to end on this. As far as the city's next move, you're moving forward with the environmental report. What else? What are you going to do next?
We're going to keep reaching out to the Chargers, because if they are interested, we want to open lines of communication. We're going to talk to the NFL. because the NFL are the Chargers' partners, and they have a bigger business. And we want them to know that San Diego is ready, willing, and able to negotiate a reasonable stadium deal and present it to the voters of San Diego. And we can do that by January 12th.
Do you know when you're going to be talking to the NFL and when we might hear from
pretty
them?
soon, but I think that's going to come through the mayor's office, and I'm prepared as our members of our negotiating team to go back and meet with them. And we're not going to give up because I think the city of San Diego and the folks need a straight answer. Are we going to have them here or not? We've given them a path to do it.
Okay, City Attorney Jan Goldsmith and Jim Steig, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.